Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2 and kitties. This is Gast. Yes, he's not actually named for the undead, though. He's named for the Minecraft little ghasty thingy that flies around squeaking and blowing fireballs. Hi. The dude that made the Ghast in Minecraft made all the noises that the Ghast makes from his cat. He recorded his cat while his cat was sleeping. Just interesting tidbit. So anyway, I am here to talk to you about player agency. But larger than that, how to work with your players. I'm going to read sections of narrative collaboration from Archives of Nethys from the GM Core, page 19. Because I have a lot to say about the sections. This may bleed over into a separate video. Either way, there's going to be chapters. Narrative collaboration. The relationship between you, your players, and the story is what makes role-playing games successful and memorable. If all the players at the table contribute ideas, the game holds more surprises for everyone, including you, as the GM. While some players like to sit back and let the Game Master control everything, most players want their contributions to shape the campaign story. This is central to the concept of player agency. Making players feel like the choices they make really matter, and that the world is a living place they can change through their decisions. I'm going to repeat that. This is central to the concept of player agency, making players feel like the choices they make really matter, and that the world is a living place they can change through their decisions. In some games, the players can step beyond the traditional divide between GM and players to directly influence how the story progresses. Below are 3 methods you can use to balance the narrative control of your game. So, my main topic that I want to address is if you have a player character, I'm talking to GMs and players. If there is a player character in a game that has created a backstory, or that has a reasonably solid idea of who this character is, they are invested. They have put their own time, energy, and a piece of their sense of self in this character. Where do we draw our ideas from our characters from, except from our own experiences or things that we've seen and heard? It has to come from somewhere. There's usually a little piece of each of us in our characters. And so if a GM makes something happen to a character that the player is invested in without that player's knowledge, and it's something that player wouldn't want, there's conflict. Even if it's unseen at the time, somebody's upset. It's important as GM to understand what the player wants their character to be and what they envision for that player character's inner world and their future. You are writing a collaborative story. Neither of you are the authors of this book. You are co-authors, along with everybody else at the table, even digital table, working together on it. If somebody wants to just carte blanche decide what characters do, that is a hallmark of an author. That's somebody writing a book. If that is what the GM wants, then they're not really interested in a collaborative experience. Maybe they should try their hand at writing a book or a story or two, instead of involving other people when they don't really care about what those people think. So, a player has the responsibility to bring up to the GM when something happens that they don't want their character to do. And that's a really hard thing to do. Because if a GM is making a decision about your character, about a player's character, it's because the GM wants that thing to happen. Regardless of what the reason is that the GM wants that thing to happen, they wanted it to happen, otherwise they wouldn't have said it happened. So, I, as a GM, tend to be very delicate when I'm doing things like that. And if I don't think to talk about it with the player ahead of time, which I always try to do, I try to do that obsessively. Like, you get all the guidelines so I don't step on somebody's toes. If I don't do it ahead of time, then I'll do so in the moment. Like, is it okay if I say this happens? If not, it's your choice. It's okay. Not just because it's hard to disagree with somebody when you're in a game with them, or just in general in life, because you're arguing. There is a conflict there, and that's hard for people to face. But also, if you're a player, you don't run the game. You don't have, quote, ownership of the story. You're not running the adventure. You don't make the decisions. You don't put limits or rules in place. You don't have the authority to say what happens. And so if the GM says something that happens, our instinct is usually to back down. If it's your player character, you have permission to say something. And you should. Maybe not in the moment if you're not ready to, but at some point. Because everybody needs to know what the truth is, so that they can better act on it. Allow the other person to have the option of caring about you and caring about what story you want to make. If you don't care about your character doing that thing, great, let it go. It doesn't matter. Just let the GM have fun if they're having fun. But if it truly matters, at some point, subtly, gently, in between sessions, after the game, somehow say something. If for no other reason, then if it's something you really cared about, it will bother you. And those things don't diminish over time. They stay or they grow. So just get it out of the way so that everybody can address it and have a better experience together. One idea that I thought was cool and interesting in narrative collaboration is story points, because it mirrors another idea that I want to tell you about. So story points, this is from GM Core page 20, it's in the same section. If you prefer, you can give players a number of story points at the start of each session, typically 2 or 3. They can cash these in to determine what happens next in the story. Having a currency like this means you can keep your steady hand on the tiller while allowing other players to interject when it's important to them. For most groups, a story point should allow the player to suggest a plot twist that can be resolved quickly or to establish a relevant fact or NPC attitude. That sounds like fun. It can't determine the outcome of an entire scene or vastly alter the reality of the setting. So this is just not the character, but the player having a cool idea and just saying, hey, can we do this? It prompts the player to voice ideas that they have. It's giving them pre-permission to be more involved if they have an idea that sounds fun. I love this. I think everybody should have this. Like, even if the GM is like, I get that you want to do that here, but it's not going to work for the story. I could tell you why, but I'm not really sure how without being really vague. Great, the GM can say that. This is just cool. I love this. The GM has a creative mind, or they wouldn't want to be a GM. But a GM is hard-pressed to run a campaign, play NPCs, keep the plot on track, keep encounters on track, and still come up with creative ideas for everything that the PCs come across. It's just hard. And you have 3-4 other people at the table that might have ideas. So use your resources. Your players' brains are resources. Another idea I like, aside from story points, is flashbacks. You can award flashbacks for like doing certain cool feats in a game. Or you can just say at the beginning of an adventure, like a multi-week thing, you have 3 flashbacks. Something like that. Or if it's a one-shot, give them all 3. Because it'd be fun. And then, like, if somebody is in a sticky situation and they're having difficulty, they might be like, those guards that are protecting that doorway, I have to get through there or I'm going to be killed by the land shark behind me. Boulets, I love them. So could I have a flashback to say that I thought ahead that I might come across this kind of guard guarding this thing and I have a guard's outfit in my bag, and maybe I even set up a quick costume with it, a quick outfit change. Okay, then I get dressed in that, and that's my flashback point. That's fun. That's interesting. Because it adds a facet to the character that they planned for this. And the character can even bullshit and say to their friends later, yeah, I thought that might happen. I know, I always plan ahead. It lends depth to the character story. Sure, it seems cheesy for the player in the moment, but it's fun in retrospect. It's fun for the other player characters and the other players and that player's character. So flashbacks can be fun. Like, oh, I meant to have that acid that I sold. I didn't use the money. Can I have the acid back? Now I need it. Yep, that's a flashback point. It's just fun. It's cool. Idea farm is the next topic I want to go over. Coming up with ideas for a campaign can sometimes feel overwhelming. This is where your players come in handy. You can solicit direct feedback from them and implement their ideas into the game. This style of narrative control preserves your authority over the game while giving players the chance to incorporate elements into the game you know they want to see. It doesn't venture beyond the traditional structure of a fantasy role-playing game. I like that they are telling you... Oh, I love you. They're telling you what kinds of things they like. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like being told what kind of present someone wants for their birthday. Yeah, that's useful information. Plan for a few checkpoints throughout the campaign where you touch base with your players to get their ideas. The most crucial comes at the start of the game. It's best to take this step before you even set to work on crafting the world or plot, so that player input can define what's important in the game world. Later, checkpoints can coincide with major story milestones. For example, if the players set off across the sea, you might ask where they want their voyage to end and what sites, if any, they'd like to explore along the way. Yeah. Once people see that you're going to be going into the water, some tables, people will just shout out ideas anyway. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if we came across a kraken? I've never come across a kraken in a role-playing game. Can we fight a kraken? Or, like, talk to one? Can I have a kraken pet? It takes all tables. All sorts of tables. Anyway, as the GM, it's sometimes hard to let go of the control we have over a game because we feel like it's ours. We created this thing. I mean, especially if it's not a written adventure. But even if it is, and we have or haven't added aspects or changed aspects of it, it's hard to let go of, this is my job, this is my responsibility, whatever they have fun doing is a reward for me. But it took a while for me to learn this, but some people, a lot of people, most people actually, have fun doing things that they thought of. It may not seem like you get that moment of excitement and surprise, but they still are thrilled that they get to do something that they thought of that would be fun. Especially if you embrace it fully and go as far with it as you can think of. Like, okay, you find a kraken. And you realize it's not actually a living kraken, it's a dead kraken. In fact, you get closer to it and you realize it's made out of rubber tubing and metal plates. It's a kraken ship. Now you can go underwater. And then they do so. And other krakens start to surround them because the ship looks like a kraken. And they inadvertently infiltrate kraken society or kraken mating grounds. And krakens are actually brilliant creatures. So then you go into this area of the dark depths of the ocean and there are dozens or hundreds of krakens communicating telepathically, and hijinks ensue. The person that came up with the kraken theme will just be fucking thrilled. That's what the power is that you have. You can do that. And that's also something to be really excited about and happy about, that you have the ability to make people's ideas become wishes come true. And that is what I have for you today. I want to share my thoughts on player agency, collaborating and being cooperative with players, and as a player, that it's valid that you have concerns and plans for your own character, and you can discuss those plans with your GM and other people at the table whenever you want, at the beginning or whenever it comes up. This is a work in progress that we are building together. If you want to see any of my build videos, they're here. And if you want to see any of my recent book coverage, it's here. Thank you. See you there.